Okay, so that was just an example of how to do these calculations and the measurements for a low frequency. I'm going to do the same thing for a higher frequency. So let's say, let's go to 2000 hertz. That's way above the cutoff frequency. So what I'll do is I'll go to my sine wave generator, and I'm going to scroll up, and there's 2 kilohertz. Switch that to 2 kilohertz, and there you go. Now, to be able to compare, I'm going to make sure that my 2 channels have the same range. So let's go for 1 volt per division, like this. Now you can see that the input and output signals are actually very close to each other. There's a bit of a shift on the time domain, so we can measure that as well, just like I measured it earlier. You can see my cursors are still here, but now I'm just going to move that here and that right there. You can see now that the delta time between the two, let's do it again because the waveforms moved. Okay, just going to move the waveform like this, the entire waveform, so that it intercepts the cursor on the right side, and there's the cursor on the left side, and the delta x is 33.99 microseconds. And for that frequency at 2000 hertz, the phase in degrees is just 1.22 degrees approximately. So you can see that the phase is very little now, but you can also see that the amplitude attenuation is also very small. So there's the blue, the output, there's the yellow, the input. The difference between these two, let's see, is just 196.78 millivolts. So very little attenuation. And you can keep doing that. And let's go a little higher, even at 5 kilohertz. And now you can see that the difference is even smaller. Like here, I would need to go into a smaller range even. Let's make it 500 millivolts to be able to do a measurement here. Even at that level, the difference is very small. Anyway, that is the point. As you can see, as I'm increasing the frequency, the signal tends to travel through with very little attenuation, and even the phase shift decreases over time. Another thing that I want to show you here in the waveforms application is a spectrum analyzer. All right, so here on the right side, I've got the spectrum analyzer, and on the left side, I've got the original signal. And I'm going to start the spectrum analyzer and have a look at what it shows us about the signals that are coming through. So I want to see the signal that is picked up on the second trace. So I'm going to turn the first one off. And up the top, just going to rearrange these windows actually, just 1 second. So I've just undocked the spectrum analyzer window, and I am measuring the spectrum analyzer using data from the second channel. So, yep, the red one, which is trace 2. And up here, I can set the parameters of my spectrum analyzer. Basically, what is it that I want to search for? So I'm just going to either use my mouse and browse through these settings down the bottom. For example, I'm using my scroll wheel now. Or just manually say that I want to measure monitor frequencies, let's say from 20 hertz all the way to, you can put a reasonable value here, let's say 20 kilohertz. Okay, actually that's probably too much. Let's make it 10, because as I'm including a wider range of frequencies, obviously that impacts performance. The other thing I'm going to check here and perhaps change is the number of bins. So basically, how many samples do I want to take for this measurement? And obviously, the larger the number is, you get more details, but also you get performance decreasing. So I think for our purposes, maybe let's try for 500 samples or bins, and you can see that performance is much better. If I go for something higher, I get more details, but smaller performance. So I think 500 is good. Now have a look at this. In the signal that is going into the filter, I've selected 5 kilohertz for this sine wave. Then here the peak that you see in the spectrum analyzer confirms that this is a signal that is actually propagating through the filter to the output. And you can see that on the vertical axis, I've got the decibels per voltage, and that signal peaks out at about 0, which means essentially very little attenuation. I can zoom in as well. I'm using my scroll wheel button to zoom in and out on this particular frequency. And you can see the samples that are taken marked on the waveform here, or I can zoom out. And as I'm zooming out, you can see that the horizontal axis changes accordingly. I can also click on the axis and move things back and forth. Now, the interesting thing is what would happen if I go for a low frequency. So let's go for 200 hertz. All right, so there's 200 hertz. 200 hertz is around here. I can use the cursors again. Just use this cursor and just point here. You can see this is 600. 200 is even less than that. It's below my range. So let's move that to 50 hertz so that the bottom end of this range of frequencies presented in the spectrum analyzer is at 50 hertz. So you can see the peak is here, which is the 200 hertz that are going into the filter from the waveform generator. And you can see the attenuation here is minus 9 dBVs. So that shows that this signal is getting attenuated quite a bit. So 9 decibels. Right. So this is another thing that you can use in the Analog Discovery 3 device, which I really like. You can see the attenuation across different frequencies in the spectrum analyzer. Let's have a look at one more interesting thing. I'm going to stop the spectrum analyzer, go back to the welcome screen, and then have a look at the network analysis tool. Right. So I'm going to undock that as well. All right. So what this tool does is essentially show me the frequency response of the filter, and that is being determined experimentally, not via calculations of an ideal situation like the Python script does or a electronics simulator does, but this tool will experimentally go through a range of frequencies, and then for each one, generate a pixel on the plot, put them all together, and you've got a plot that contains essentially the frequency response of this filter. So it's pretty easy to use. Let's do it. So let's start at 20 hertz. Let's go all the way to 20 kilohertz. We want to work in steps of, say, 100. We can play around with these numbers and see the detail. Basically, these two numbers, the steps and per decade, allows you to control the detail of the plot that we're about to see. And of course, there is a give and take between the detail of the plot and the performance, how quickly this plot will be generated. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So for something like this, I'd say let's start at 100 and work our way from there. See, if we're not happy with the detail, we can increase the number of steps. The source is WaveGen C1. This is a wave generator, the first channel. And the output is coming from the blue channel here, blue. Yeah. The amplitude, let's make it 2 volts. Offset 0, logarithmic scale. You can go for linear. We can try both and see what they like. And with that said, let's do the plotting. So you can see C1 is the input signal. C2, the blue line, is the output. And in low frequencies, say below 100 hertz, you can see that the attenuation is quite high. Up here, you've got the attenuation, and down the bottom, you've got the phase shift. So yeah, once it runs once, you can stop it. You don't have to run again because it's just going to repeat the same thing. The circuit itself is not changing, so you only need to run this analysis once. So it looks like this. From 100 hertz, I think this is the lowest, to 20 kilohertz. This is a logarithmic scale. So you can see now we can use the cursors. I'm going to use this cursor actually here, and you can see what happens. The cutoff frequency is 796 hertz. So if we go to that frequency, 796 right there, you'll see that we've got a attenuation of minus 3 point something decibels, or 3, yeah, which is the definition of what a cutoff frequency is, and a phase shift, you can see down the bottom, C2 at 43.432 degrees. And as we are increasing our frequency, both of those numbers change, attenuation drops, and the phase shift also drops, until eventually, for a sufficiently high frequency, the output and the input are pretty much the same. Low frequency is exactly the opposite case. You can do the same analysis using a linear chart. It would look like this. Obviously, you have to pack a lot more frequencies together. I'm just going to reset the stop to the same top end, 20 kilohertz, and repeat the analysis, right? So, yep, that's what a linear plot would look like. I think the logarithmic is more reasonable in this case. It looks better, and you can see better what is happening down the bottom, where actually you have most of the change of your waveform. Okay, so I'm just going to click on stop here. Now, the last thing that I want to show you for this practical exercise is the Python script. So I've got this Python script here, which will run the analysis on this high-pass RC filter. So the numbers here for the R and the C are the same numbers as in the actual components in my experimental filter. I calculate the cutoff frequency there, and I print it out, and I've got the bunch of frequencies that I want to do my calculations for. And for each one, I create a plot that displays the two sine waves, the input and the output, so that I can compare. And for each one, I also calculate the phase shift in delta t, so in the time domain, and the frequency domain in degrees. So let's run this. And the plot looks like this. You can see here for each frequency the phase shift. And you can also see the plots themselves and what they look like. And you can compare what the Python script shows against what the analysis using the hardware real life circuit and your tests, in my case, using the Analog Discovery 3 show for this particular circuit. Okay, so if you are keen, I invite you, now that you've seen how to do it, to go ahead and repeat the measurements for these frequencies and write down the measurements and draw your conclusions from this experiment.